welcome to Gas It Out. This is the podcast where when the flag drops, the talking doesn't stop. In fact, you have about an hour ahead of you of three middle-aged, quite grumpy men whittering on at you about motorcycle racing. My name is Gavin Emmett, and alongside me, as always, two men who don't need no introduction, but we better give them one anyway. Always have an opinion, whether you ask for it or not. Neil Hodgson and Sylvain Gintoli. How are we getting on, boys? Neil, how's the Isle of Man today? Because it is so windy here that I've had to come up to the office to record today because downstairs in the light, in the sunshine, lack of sunshine, it was blowing a gale.
Yeah, as always over here, you get it quite harsh. So if I look tired, I'm just looking at myself. Not that I'm vain. Well, maybe a little bit. It was my wife's birthday yesterday, and it was our wedding anniversary. Remember, I'm the ultimate cheapskate. I married my wife on a birthday, winning one present. So might have had a few margaritas because I'm really cool when it comes to drinks.
When you said a few, two does not count as a few.
Does it not? Okay, but looking at my face, you can tell I have more than two. So it was quite a late night, but it was bloody fantastic.
Well, happy birthday to Victoria Hodgson, and I'm so glad that she dug you up because it looks like she has had to exhume you for this podcast today. Sylvain, how is the chateau? I can see you've got your leathers all lined up behind us nicely. Got those Luca leathers in the background. How are you getting on? How's your marathon training been going?
Yeah, that's going well actually, and did quite a few long runs in the last week, last 7 days. So it's getting there. The ankles and knees are not happy though. Wow, I mean, this running business is tough, you know. I'd say we're like on target, and I've actually run the suit in as well. I've had a bit of a run in the suit, just making sure everything is okay. Did a few tests with camelback, trying to make the suit as light as possible. You know, marginal gains, isn't it?
Did a few tests with camembert.
So French, isn't it?
Is that going
so French?
Yeah, camembert as well. Camelback and camembert. But just trying to find, those just like in MotoGP, little marginal gains, so I can improve the time on the marathon. But I tell you what, it's going to be tough. Yeah, it's going to be really tough. I had no clue actually because I never really did a long run before, and nowadays you see like marathons, you see people running marathons everywhere on social media, don't you? I mean, it's almost become like a normal thing. It's like, oh yeah, he's running a marathon. Everybody's doing it. But actually, when it comes down to it, when you pass like the 25K mark, bloody hell, it's painful. So anyway, it's all going on.
Hey, Gav, what I love is like he didn't already know that though. Like me and you, we knew. It's like there's no way we're running marathons, are we? But I mean, it is for a good cause, Sylvain. So all respect.
Yeah, we remind you about Sylvain's fundraiser going so well, and thank you. I'm sure Sylvain will echo that. So many people have got in touch, and it's not just us. I know Matt Markets and Pekka Vanya and all these people have put it out there as well. So we wish you all the best. I think we ought to order him, Neil, a job lot of Vaseline or something, because he's going to need to lube up the amount of chafing that there's going to be over 26.2 miles of the London Marathon. Oh my goodness me! Before we get going, as well, loads of you have been getting in touch this week. We do love to see it. If you do enjoy the podcast, remember to get in touch at Gas It Out on Instagram or YouTube. This is a question and answer episode that we've got for you. Also, leave us a review because it really does help. It just keeps you up the charts and all that, and it helps us keep making these episodes as well. So we do appreciate it. And if you don't like the podcast, please don't leave a review. That's all I ask. But just if you could do that, be kind enough to do so. Today's episode is, as I say, going to be driven by your questions and comments. And lads, I don't know if you know, but we had a message in this week from a chap called Carlos, first of all. Now, he works for a dodgy podcast chart tracking company. And apparently, Gas It Out is number one in sports charts in Sri Lanka. That's what Carlos told me.
Oh.
Apparently. I don't actually know if I believe him because he said we were about 35 in the UK. And I make us about number 100, which I will say is the top motorcycle chat. And that's not bad as far as it goes in the UK. But
was Carlos trying to get a bit of money of you to promote the podcast, maybe?
I've got a feeling that he was wanting me to follow the link to his his company that I
there
can't
was a link.
find. There was a link. There was a link, and he was a Nigerian prince as well. What he said was, if I just deposited £10,000 in his account, our podcast would be number one.
But so that was dodgy. Should I not? Those links, should I not? What? Of what? Oh dear. That maybe explains something. Yeah.
Anyway, if we are number one in
him.
Sri Lanka, I'm up for it. I don't know about you boys.
I'm up for it.
We do a tour of the working men's clubs in Colombo, in Gaul, in Kandy. Bring it on, because it looks amazing, Sri Lanka, anyone who's ever been there. So, and I love a Sri Lankan curry. So if you are listening from Sri Lanka and you love this podcast, get in touch with us at Gas It Out Pod on Instagram. We had a comment on our Patreon as well from Joshua, who said, have you considered setting up a Patreon as well? Because we wouldn't want Neil and Sylvain to summit in business class. I agree, because business class would be a step down, wouldn't it, chaps? You know,
I can't imagine what it's like back there. What is it like back there?
But Carpaccio is horrendous, isn't it? So,
I know I'm never going to live that one down, am I?
Any business class adventures this week? I wonder at all. We have actually had.
It's been quiet from my side.
Yeah, I'm pleased. I'm pleased to hear that. But you did say that obviously you're getting over to the UK to fly over to Brazil, which is obviously our next trip.
Yeah.
Is that how do you get the private jet sorted for that? Do you just have to call the pilot directly?
Yeah, it's quite straightforward, really. Obviously, sometimes the limousine can't get all the way to the plane. That's annoying, but you know, you've got to deal with these things.
Now, we've had a couple of people mention sound levels over the few weeks. We are sorry. We know. First one we did, we had little lapel mics on, and there was a bit of a mess up. I sat on one of them. I broke one of them as well. So I'm sorry about that one as well. We also had a comment from Quentin Andre, who said, can someone get Neil a proper headset? Obviously myself and Sylvain have invested. Great weekend review. So he still liked it. He still heard it. But obviously, Neil, you've gone for the AirPods this week, I've noticed as well.
I am confused though. I feel like it's 2026. It's moved on. Like, honestly, you're going to be shocked, guys. These work. And look, I can hear everything you're saying, and they're small and discreet, and I can move my head around. What are you doing with the... I mean, it's...
On the video version,
a waste of money.
You will see that you can find on YouTube that's doing really well. I will say, go and subscribe to the channel there, because we do have a few extras that we put on there as well. Myself and Sylvain look professional as anything. Neil just looked like he's on a FaceTime.
We need a GoFundMe page to get me a headset then. Do I need one with the mic coming round?
Josh before wanted a Patreon. We'll leave that for a later date. I like this one from Indulge Insider. Got in touch with us. The best thing about watching MotoGP commentary with Emmett is being able to turn the sound off. So look, I have to say, Neil needs better audio equipment. Some of you can't hear us. Some of you don't want to hear us. And we do try our very best.
That's fine as well.
All fair feedback, isn't it, Sylvain?
We've heard it before, haven't we, Sylvain?
Yep.
Turn him down.
Turn him down. Right, let's get into a little bit of news. We had one from, actually, Kevin was responding. Kevin X9225 said, going back to Rossi and Market Sepang a century ago, Rossi had to start the next and final round in last position. I think you were talking about the penalty there. We'll get onto that in a second, because loads of reaction to your penalty chat. But on a different note, is there any news on the Qatar round? Obviously, it's the fourth round of the championship. We've got Brazil and the USA coming up back-to-back next. Then we're supposed to be going to Qatar fairly soon after it. I know there have been other championships that have said, I think there was a car championship that said World Endurance, was it? That said they weren't going to be, weren't going to be going there. Formula One still have made no comment. Carmelo Espeleta, last week in an event in Madrid, he said, could it be moved to another date? We'll have to stay calm. We'll have a plan B. We need to wait. I can't say that we won't go. We've been speaking with Qatar since Sunday. We'll make a decision. It looks difficult that we'll go there on the 12th of April, but I can't say we won't. It's a tough one, isn't it, actually, this time? obviously everything that's going on, thoughts with anyone affected by the conflict. Not for us to get into it. This is a motorcycle racing podcast chat. But the fact is, now we're getting to that point, what is it, less than a month out, where insurance, risk, and all these things come into it. And to run a World Championship event under the guise of whatever is going on, it looks really unlikely that it will happen on that date, if it happens at all. Do you agree?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Well, we've been told already with regards to TNT Sports, we are not flying out there. Even if it goes ahead, we'll just cover that one from the UK, which sort of makes sense. I think they're just trying to get ahead of the curve. The question is, will they just obviously just not run it and it'll be a 21-round championship, or will they put it in the calendar? And I was looking earlier that there's only really one slot where it could really fit in. We've got a 3-week break. It's after Germany. It's between Germany and Silverstone, 3 weekends off. You could fit it into there. So that's a possibility. Or, and no one wants this to happen, they could just tag it on to the end of the season. But that would mean what a long season, if you think about it. I was looking, if they tagged it onto the end of the season, it'd be then only, if they start the season the same time next year, there'd only be 13 weeks off and you'd be starting the season again. I mean, because obviously this season started, it was the earliest ever start to a Grand Prix season since, I think there was one time, was it Daytona? Obviously a long time ago when that was a round of the championship. So yeah, it's a tricky one.
Do a
it's hard to know what will
double
happen.
header in Balaton. That would be nice to replace it.
You're trying to wind me up, aren't you, already?
He is. He's starting as he means to go on in this episode.
Our favourite
More of that
track.
debate. Hey, no, but I do think there's probably something in ending the season in a Qatar. I think that is something that could potentially happen. I don't know about you, Sylvain. Can you see it happening in April?
No, I don't see it happening now. I don't think so. I mean the situation is it's critical, and even if everything was to be resolved really, really quickly, as in like in the next few days, I mean, it's not a given that it's not going to restart, or it's too. I think it's too risky. So I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's a possibility that we're going to see it at the end of the season. That's a real possibility as a final. And the other solution is to get a double header. I mean, we could have a double header in Jerez. Would that work? Like replacing it with with Jerez? I don't know if that would really
I don't
work
see a
either,
replacement
so.
happening. I don't see a replacement.
No, I think I'll be off, or
will
we'll be at the end of the season.
Yeah, it feels unlikely, and someone could step in at such short notice as well. Freight, logistics, crowds, with all these things that you're dealing with. Jerez, I know, was dealt with that before when we think about COVID, but even then there was a lead-up time of a couple of months. So anyway, you never say never. Carmelo actually also addressed Adelaide and the potential of losing Phillip Island. He says it's a safe circuit, not a street circuit. We're going to a fantastic location in the middle of a city. It's just responding to sort of things that we were saying actually last time out. It's easy to say Phillip Island's beautiful. It is. Safety comes first. Suzuka's beautiful, but we don't go there because of safety. So really going hard on the safety thing, it really makes us think that if they are going to do something in Adelaide City, they've got the work cut out to make it happen and make it work. We'll see. Other things going on at the moment. There's been an interesting episode, first one of this season actually, of Ducati's series, which we saw last year, which is of course the Inside Ducati Lenovo. And yeah, it basically charts them through the year, Marc Marquez and Pecco Bagnaia. I like it. It's something I enjoy, little 10 minutes, going behind the scenes to see the riders, see what's been happening. But I watched the latest one. I know you boys have had a look at it too. And I found a couple of bits within that I'd like to pick out, which were basically how tired, how fatigued Mark was looking at the start of the year, and him saying he hadn't done up to 40 minutes of a race distance. Him basically saying how, he was only just getting back to feeling well after the illness in the test. And it makes you think, actually, second place in the sprint and a potential podium on Sunday maybe was an overachievement actually in the end for Mark over what he was doing. What do you think, Neil?
Yeah, I think it's an overachievement. We all said from the very first practice session, he looked exhausted, didn't look himself on the bike. And it was hard to believe that he obviously nearly won the sprint race and arguably would have finished third in the race in the main Grand Prix if he'd not got that puncture. So it's worrying times, though. I mean, it's such a long time since he had the initial injury. And it's now obviously he's had the chance to have 2 weeks off, which is good for him before we go to Brazil next weekend. So, but he isn't going to be 100% fit in Brazil, is he? And then it makes you wonder if he falls on it, how weak it is. Not that will bother him because we know he'll go full attack mode. So, but I do quite like that documentary. It is well worth, if you've not seen it, going on YouTube and watching it. The Ducati Lenovo sort of behind the scenes, really interesting. You get the comments that are not press, your usual PR spin, which they have to do every day. Obviously, the factory riders have to speak to the press. So I quite like it. You get the side comments that you're maybe not supposed to hear. Obviously, Ducati will always edit it so they won't throw their riders under the bus. But there are some interesting parts to it.
Absolutely. And there were little things where he said, there was a line in it where he said, we'll know in Jerez. We'll know when we get there. And it's what we say all the time, isn't it, Sylvain? We've said it over the years when we've been going to Argentina for these races. You can't get a read from Thailand with the tyre, the temperatures. Same for Brazil, new track. And then we go to the USA. It's such an odd circuit, although we'll get on to Maverick Vinales' view of it in a minute. But, it's not till you get to further down in the season. And Qatar was, in theory, going to be next. And that is another one with the dust on the track, with the sand on the track that, it's a great layout, is Qatar, but you never get a feel until you get back into Europe, do you? And so actually these races now, I suppose, Sylvain, Marquez will be seeing them as a kind of getting himself fit for the season, using them to build up fitness for the European leg.
Yeah, I think definitely, and we say that every year, the fact that we've got these few races now abroad before coming back to Europe, they never really show exactly how the season is going to pan out. It's a bit like we go to Phillip Island with the World Superbikes to start with, and Phillip Island is never really a reflection of the season because it's a particular track. And when we get to Jerez, the good thing with Jerez is that the riders, the manufacturers, everybody has done like 1 million laps around Jerez. So that's where you can see the real potential of the riders and the bikes, and you can really, really sort of judge how, like, in a better way, of how the season is going to pan out. But that said, I would say that the crushing job that Aprilia did in Buriram was very, very impressive. I know it was a different rear tire. I know it's a particular track. We had like 55 plus degree track temperature, and it is a track that where it's hard to, like, say, draw conclusions from. But still, then that job, following the progress that they made last year, and I actually had another look of Bezecchi's season last year, how it started and how he sort of went from strength to strength all year long to finish, obviously, on those 2 victories in Portimao and Valencia. So he's on 3 wins in a row, basically, if you had last year and this year. So I don't think, for me, Buriram is not a fluke. I think the Aprilia sort of effort is in very, very good shape. And I think Ducati is worried, and we'll see that. And I think they are right to be worried, because these guys, and especially Bezecchi, this year they're going to be tough to beat. Yeah, they're going to be. This is great for us, because we were thinking Ducati is going to put it all back together. We're going to get a Ducati Cup. We were saying, these words, and that's not what we want. We want to see manufacturers fighting. We want to see, riders from different manufacturers. Your Pedro Acosta, your Bezecchi, your Raul Fernandez. We want to see these guys fighting it out, as well as the other Ducati boys. So yeah, I thought Buriram was. I mean, it was such a pleasant surprise, a good surprise to have them looking so strong, and to have Pedro Acosta, looking so strong as well.
And of course, talking of Pedro Acosta and Marc Marquez in the same breath, there was a lot of comment, a lot of people getting in touch with us about the penalty, about the incident in the sprint. You'll be pleased to know that, just like you said, actually, I think, Neil, to be fair to you, it was very much almost a 50-50. It was one of those where, you could see it going both ways. This is what people had to say about it. The great 481 said, was never a penalty, get a grip. So these are some of the ones who didn't necessarily agree with what you boys had to say. Taranamukful, I feel you're wrong on the mark overtake. With aero effect, he may have been dragged deeper into the corner than expected. That's racing contact, not something that deserves a penalty. Kawa Sutra said, Pedro didn't think it was necessary. Raul didn't think it was necessary. Jack Miller didn't think it was necessary. Pedro even said to Mark on the podium that he was wide. So they were just a selection of the people who disagreed with the penalty, but some agreed. Chris Magg, Jamie Robinson posted a trackside video. It was clear Mark was massively offline and pushed Pedro off track. Matt D, 5521, Neil, record this one. He was 100% spot on. It was a marginal call, but it was the smallest possible penalty. And Peter Hess, 6039, says, I think it was a penalty. Thank you for your brevity, Peter. Maybe offer some more in terms of comment next time, but we do love hearing from you. Plenty for us to respond to there. But I think it just showed how much of a marginal call. And ultimately, a couple of people made this comment, a line's been drawn in the sand. And I think the riders, Mark said in that Inside Ducati video, I'm not a steward. Stewards made the decision. He effectively says, now I know where the line is. And they will make sure that line is kept to.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said last time, it's not going to this is not going to change racing going forward. Riders will always give it a go. They'll obviously try and make it as clean as possible, but sometimes when you're releasing the brake and someone's turning in, contact's going to happen. And like I said, this was a fine line fight. It's fine margins anyway, but this was just a penalty, only just. So, like, I'm not worried. You know, I'm not now going, that's it. No point in watching racing anymore. No one's going to be passing each other. That's not going to be the case. So, I'm not getting my knickers in a twist.
Well, it's the first time for everything, it sounds like, on that. Because normally you like to get a little bit ahead about things. Right, we'll leave it there on the penalty for now. We'll take a breather. But don't worry, when we come back, we've got lots more debate. We've got your questions about testing. There's been some tests this week in Jerez and in Portimao. Half points handed out in Moto2. What is that all about? And again, we're going to talk about our favourite racetracks around the world. Apparently, Maverick Vinales likes the Circuit of the Americas. Right, we're going to talk testing now because at Reese Davis 1196 has been in touch with us. Another brilliant episode. Oh, you're too kind. My question for the Q&A is, what's it like being a test rider? And I think it's probably a good moment to mention there have been tests this week. World Superbikes were out in Portimao. Alex Lowe's was fastest on day one from Nicola Bulig and Sam Lowe's. Despite the fact Sam Lowe's has broken bones in his hand, of course, in Phillip Island start of the year. Second day, a bit of a washout, not too much action going on there. Anything, Neil, to add on that? I wonder if you've been in touch with Alex, because that just bodes well, doesn't it? For the fact that we're up there.
Absolutely, bodes really well. That promoter definitely looks like it's made a step forward this year. So that's really positive. Not a lot to add. It was almost like a 30-lap 2-day test. They got about a 2-hour window where the track was dry, and then unfortunately it rained a little bit. And then it's this time of year at Portimao, it's damp patches. You know the story. You've obviously been there and seen it. So not too much to read into it. To be honest, you just feel sorry for a lot of the manufacturers because all through their pre-seasons, they've had no pre-season, if you remember when they went to Jerez, and a few of the other tracks have been washed out. So I think a lot of the World Superbike teams are desperate for some dry track time. But I think they might be testing today, actually. Is it today? Yeah, they could be testing today. I'm not too sure. But
some have stayed, haven't they?
Some stayed on. I know that.
Well, it's tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
How do you think of the BMW boys? They've got 2 new riders on the bike, and all they've had literally is rainy winter testing. It's just been dreadful. So it's dreadful for everybody, but for the guys that are with new teams, new bikes, it's not ideal. So hopefully they get some better weather today and tomorrow.
Yeah, and just for people to timestamp this is Thursday the 12th. We're recording this. Hopefully it'll be out tomorrow morning on Friday the 13th. So there's every chance that there may be some action going on that day. There's also been MotoGP testing at Jerez, and this is perhaps, Sylvain, where you can come into it, because There's a lot of action going on down in Jerez. We'd seen Michele Pirro has put out some footage on the video version on YouTube. If you go to Michele Pirro's Instagram, at Michele Pirro 51, you can see him getting on a bike. A few people speculating that it's the 850, but Sylvain, you having a close look, and we can tell that that's a Michelin that's in there, and every chance that is the 1000cc. It's not to say that there haven't been 850s out on the bike, out on the track. And you say actually here, Sylvain, you can see that's the ride height device engaging, which of course there won't be on the 850s, because we do feel, for example, that Paul Espargaro put up a picture himself at a test, and he was on board a bike which looks a bit prototypey, a bit rough and ready, a bit fresh. We know Honda have been testing elsewhere. We'll get onto that in a second. But tests like this, Sylvain, at this time of year, what's that like for the likes of Michele Pirro and co to be actually out on track, one, the role that they're doing for this season, but then thinking about next season as well, because you've been in that boat, of course.
Yeah, well, it'd be like for them, it'd be loads and loads of blisters, that's for sure, because there's plenty of laps to do. Imagine that they are still developing the 2026 bike, even though manufacturers are concentrating on 2027 and the new 850s and the new set of rules. They're still working on this year's bike. The Michele Pirro images that we saw there, he was on Michelin tires, and it did look like the ride-eye device was activated at the exit of the last turn. So it did look like as well that they had a different aero package. So this looks like more that they were testing for an upgrade. So Ducati, obviously no concessions, but they are allowed one aero upgrade during the year. So it looks like they were working on that. But it was like a mixed test where they had Michelin, but Pirelli was also there. So they would have definitely started testing as well with Pirelli. Pirelli that said that they're going to use some specific tires for MotoGP. So we're thinking slightly different tires than what they use currently in World Superbikes and the slicks that they sell commercially as well. So they'll be working on the development for that. That KTM did look like an 850. It did not have on the left side of the handlebar. It did not have the controls for the ride-eye device. So yeah, that looks like an 850, and we know KTM anyway. They've already done an outing on the 850 in Jerez, and that was back at the end of January, I think. So yeah, the manufacturers are working hard. Toprak Razgatlioglu as well was at that test and was the only Yamaha rider, except for the test riders, Dovizioso and Fernandez, to be lapping as well. So are they lapping with the 850? We've not seen any images because it's a private, like very private test. So we've not seen much from the test, either lap times or pictures or videos. There's very little that came out of it. But the manufacturers are at it 100%. They've got 1 year to develop those bikes, to make it work with the Pirellis. They need to gather data. They need to get their aero package as well, because the aero, obviously, even though the radar device are disappearing for 2027, they are becoming banned. The aero side of things, it's going to be a major part, and we can see that already. With Aprilia in MotoGP at the moment, but because the radar device are going, the aero, the ground effect, the way they're going to redirect the airflow, just like Aprilia did with this new system in Buriram, all of this is going to become a major factor. So yeah, they need to spin laps, and the test riders are going hard at it. So yeah, to answer the question as well of the viewer that was asking what it's like to be a test rider, well, you have to be a lap time machine. You have to carry on, doing lap after lap after lap after lap, trying to be consistent, trying to bring back some feedback when you're sort of back-to-back testing some electronic items or chassis items or whatever, aero items, or whatever you're testing, and you got to keep going all day. So yeah, you got to fuel the carbs and ignore the blisters. There's a lot of blisters going on. Yeah.
Gav,
honestly,
Neil, I was just going to say about Nicola Bulega is going to be testing the 850 in theory for Ducati in the next couple of weeks. I think in Misano is the thought. And am I right in thinking, Neil, that you did testing when you were in World Superbike for GP as well, or was it? It was all around that time you're doing Michelin tests, these kinds of things. So for someone like Nicola, who's in World Superbike, but he's also trying to do testing for MotoGP at the same time. How hard is that then? I suppose World Superbike's not as heavy a workload as it was in your day, perhaps. But, you know, when you're trying to focus on one job and then you've got this other job going on at the same time, how's that to deal with?
Yeah, but where he's lucky is at least he's going to be on the Pirelli tyres. So that shouldn't be a problem because he'll be, obviously, he uses the Pirellis at the moment in World Superbike. So that's always the hardest thing, the reality of changing tyre manufacturer. You can get lost, you can get confused, they feel completely different, and then actually that can make your feedback not so good. So I don't think that'll be an issue. But I'll be honest, I did a little bit of testing and I found it so hard. Like, to be, like Sylvain says, to be consistent. And the problem is, as the day goes on in summertime, the track temperature goes up, the feeling changes, they're making subtle changes sometimes, they're making big changes, and it's really easy to get lost and then start to doubt your feedback. And a lot of the times you don't know what you're testing. And the main reason for that is they know, for example, if they say, I'll tell you what, we're going to try this different swinging arm. It's quite a bit softer and we're going to run the bike a bit longer. Well, instantly I know exactly what that bike's going to feel like. So you go out with a preconceived idea and as you're riding, you're like, oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can feel that. Feels like more side grip, but under acceleration, more movement. And a lot of the times you're focusing on that area because they've sort of told you. So Sylvain, I'm sure, will agree, 99% of the time as a test rider, it's blind testing. Yeah, you go out, you get some data, you come in, and they go, right, we're going to try some different parts, and you come in, and everyone's around you, and they're like, "What's he going to say?" And you're like, "What I learned this later on in my career. You have to be honest. It's really easy to think and almost make something up, so you sound like you've got more feel than you have. I think it's fair to say sometimes I would come in and go, it feels exactly the same. Now, the data might tell you something different, but I was always dead honest.
Interesting, because it's actually something that Jorge Martin actually said in Thailand. He was asked about those new aero devices on the Aprilia, and Jorge's only comment about it was, to be honest, I didn't feel a difference at all. I have to say, the engineers might see something. What I can tell you is I felt cooler, and that's where we were talking about. Actually, is it part of the device? Is that actually it's cooling the rider, because we know the Aprilia has been a hot bike, but that was a similar kind of thing. They didn't tell me what it was for. They didn't tell me what it was aiming to do. It didn't feel any different. I think probably the important thing there was, from an engineer's point of view, it didn't feel worse. The rider wasn't sat there thinking this is something that's worse.
Just to add to that means then that he knows exactly what it was. It felt loads better, and there's absolutely no way he's giving that information away. So, Gav,
because when we spoke
long enough.
When we spoke to Paolo Bonora in the pit lane after the race, I asked him straight, Paolo, what is it like, this new aero? What is it about? What does it do? Obviously, it's not going to give us the details and exactly. But the first thing he said, all the riders tried it, and all the riders came back in the pit saying it's better. So it must do something better, and for all of them to unanimously agree like that, and that's why they obviously validated this solution for everybody straight away. And they didn't show it as well. They didn't show it until very, very late, or as late as they could, so the other manufacturers can't copy them, not straight away anyway. So they're going to enjoy the benefit of it for at least a little while, in having that exclusively. Yeah.
Just on the test riding, there was a question I wanted to ask the pair of you about that. What is the worst job that you can be asked to do as a test rider? I'm sure fans have this,
runs
glorified thought of oh, look, you get to ride around Mugello or wherever you get to go and test. Oh, that must be the most amazing thing to just do that in the middle of summer. But there must be some really horrible development days where you are properly donkey work out there doing just testing bits, and as you say, completely blind out there. And have either of you actually tested something, got out and thought immediately straight away, this thing is absolutely awful? Have you ever had any experiences like that?
What was your worst bit, Neil? What was your worst? Worst bit was
Mugello, summertime. in the valley, like ambient temperature about 40 degrees, track temperature over 60, and you've got to the track early. They've opened the track even a little bit earlier, and they wanted you to do a race run. You've done it. You come in. You are done. Toast. Completely finished. And you have a little bit of lunch, and the plan is to do another one after lunch, and you can't stop thinking about it. You're just like, I can't believe I've got to do all that again, but the track's going to be way hotter, and I don't even know if I can. And then you start thinking to yourself, is this where I throw the excuse? Should I do, do I feel a vibration? And honestly, you have to be so mentally strong not to pull in, because imagine it sort of means nothing, as in there's no checkered flag. You do actually, I've got to say, the team around you get a big pat on the back because they know what you're going through. So I used to hate that. Or the worst, you won't believe it, testing wets. Like,
I used to like the wet, but yeah.
Oh, I used to hate it. Get ready, testing wet front tires. So we've got this new carcass, right? And we are guaranteed it's going to give you so much more brake stability in the wet. You sure? Yeah. No, we are sure. Okay. And you go out on a wet track and it doesn't work and it's horrendous and you crash.
Yeah.
This has happened to me in my career. So what happens then? You don't believe anything they tell you about a tire. Wet when you're testing wet fronts. Testing fronts in general is the worst job. Even if it's dry, you're testing slick fronts. I hated that because you are on a knife edge. It's really tough.
I feel like I'm digging up some really bad memories for you, Neil.
It is
I might need another margarita.
Hey, the race runs when you've done when we used to do in Malaysia, we used to do six days of testing in 8 days, and then you go to sort of like day 4, you've done 6 million laps. I mean, you're dizzy already, and you've got to do like 2 or 3 race simulations, and it's like the worst thing ever. I used to hate, and I still hate running brake pads as well and brake discs for the riders. Yeah. That's horrendous. Yeah. Well, it's not horrendous, but it's just boring. You come out and you do like 3 laps, step by step. So bedding the pads and the disc. And with the carbon ones, they have to do it properly, because if you ruin that, it costs a fortune. So you've got to be so gentle.
I love that. Riding around slow, taking your time. How many laps? 3 or 4? Yeah, no problem. Having a look around thinking, I tell you what, the hillside is beautiful. Little wheelie out of a corner, steady on the brakes. Don't want to, I love that.
Yeah, but you're going around and you have to be gentle with the pads. And obviously there's other test riders there, or it's a test session and there's riders. So you've got to be really careful as well that you don't get in anybody's way. I mean, potentially it's a bit dangerous as well. So yeah, I still do it. So I can't say used to, but that's not my favorite thing to do. Yeah.
Talking of testing in Sepang as well, on the video version, we're also seeing a video that was put out just as we started recording here, and that's from HRC and Taka Nakagami, who's been out, and we get our first glimpse of the Honda 850. Go to HRC_MotoGP on Instagram if you want to catch a glimpse of it. I'm sure you've already seen it already if you're a MotoGP fan. We've got no audio here, but the comment from Taka, the only comment that we get in the video is the bike feels light, a lot lighter than he expected. So Sylvain, you've been there at the start of a project like this. Obviously great for Taka that he gets to go out and gets the first sensations with the bike, but it's exciting times, isn't it? Although it looked like a wet Sepang, so he might have been testing some wets at the same time too.
Still mega there, because when you test a new bike, a new concept, there's nothing better, and you're one of the first ones to get on that bike. There is something really special about doing this, and as a test rider, I'd say that's the best thing you can do. You test a new model, you're testing the future, and nobody's done it before you. So that's one of the privileges, and you could see he was really happy, Taka, at the end of those few laps. And he did say the bike feels light, and I'm not surprised actually, because the 850s, they're gonna feel like the engine has got less inertia, and they're gonna feel a bit lighter. They're gonna feel a bit more nimble. You don't have as well it's gonna be a more natural bike, obviously, without the radar devices. They're gonna be a little bit slower, a little bit less torque, but the torque on the thousands anyway is very, very much reduced because the actual bike, the grip can't take it. So on a current MotoGP bike, at least on every track, the first 3 gears are restrained. So you're opening 100%, but the bike is not actually giving you 100% because the power doesn't go down. You either spin or wheelie. So these 850s are not going to be much slower. They're going to be a bit slower in the second part of the straights. Once you click fourth, basically. But except from that, I don't think we're going to see a massive difference. And they are going to be more nimble, more light, more agile because you've got less CC, you got a smaller engine. So it's going to be interesting. The aero is going to make progress as well because that's not going to go backwards. So I reckon
slightly less aero.
You already said already
a bit less drag on that in terms of of speeds as well. So that's another thing just to bear in mind there.
And the Pirelli have said already that they are thinking seriously of bringing the qualifiers. So this means that we're going to see some serious lap times. And I don't think they're going to be much slower than the thousands. Very, very quickly, I think we're going to be very close to what's happening now. And the corner speed is going to be greater.
I hope they do bring the qualifiers because that's entertaining. Because you put one of them in and who can get the most out of a qualifier, incredible lap times, breaking lap records, that'd be exciting.
Talking of Jorge Martin, actually, it's probably a good time. Nom de Plume had a long question, but at the end was this one. Is there any chance that Jorge Martin could actually end up staying at Aprilia if results start coming? We did respond to them to say, it sounds like the deal's done already for Jorge. A lot of those deals being put on hold with this idea of this Concord agreement being delved into with the teams and MotoGP Sports Entertainment Group, MSEG or whatever we're going to call them, going on into the future. But do you reckon there's any chance that, Jorge, encouraging start to the season for him, encouraging for Aprilia, you've got a world champion there, or is it too little too late already? Is anyone regretting the decisions that they've made? What do you think, Sylvain?
Well, the first thing I think is that we've even before the season started, it seems like we've got all these contracts signed or sort of pre-agreed, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I think it doesn't give a chance for a rider like Jorge Martin that's been injured for a best part of a year, world champion a year before. He's not had the chance to express himself on that bike or to even show his potential. So I think these contracts, and that's why we've mentioned it a few times, but having some kind of transfer window in the summer or later on in the year would make so much more sense because you'd have riders being able to prove themselves in the start of seasons. You'd have rookies being able to prove themselves. You'd have Moto2 young talent coming up, being able to show their potential at least up until the half of the season. So contracts being signed like that a year or 2 years in advance, I don't like it. I don't agree with it. And Jorge Martin maybe could have had a chance to stay at Aprilia. As we say, you're only as good as your last race. What if he starts winning the next 3 races? But all the contracts are already signed. I think it's just way too early. But the manufacturers and the riders feel like they have to make the moves really early because otherwise they're going to miss out on opportunities. So until it's actually sort of structured with some strict rule in place with the transfer windows or whatever we're calling it. Unfortunately, situation like this could happen. You could end up with Jorge Martin really performing during this season and getting stronger and stronger, which is likely to happen because the Aprilia package is super strong. And let's not forget, he's a world champion. He could be, stuck with having to make decisions that are not in career's best interest, and some manufacturers could miss out on somebody like him. So yeah, he could end up with no place at Aprilia, definitely.
Right, after a couple of technical glitches, hopefully we are back with you now. We're going to just talk quickly about Moto2, just to get onto news that's been going on. Half points awarded for that Moto2 7-lap shootout at the end. Now, the rules do state that anything shorter than half race distance, you do get half points. But the fact was they had a 3-lap first part, they had a 1-lap. Effectively, if you add them all together, they would have reached half race distance. Look, I'm not going to get into what's been going on behind the scenes, but it's a bit messy, isn't it, to start the season like that? And it just takes me back, Neil, to where we were last year when we said, God, the gods are conspiring against Manuel Gonzalez, and already he's lost 12.5 points to start his season.
Yeah, do you know, I've not thought about that, and that's a really good point. So, I mean, David Alonso will be pleased. I was thinking that obviously the riders that were involved in those incidents will be pleased because you know, even though it's a 22-round championship, no one wants to start the championship as a title contender already 25 points down. So, do you know what? To be honest, obviously you commentated on it, Gav. I was watching the race. It was messy anyway, and I think half point sounds about right. It seems fair to me.
Yeah, that's all
Hey, does
right.
that? I just thought of that, Neil. Does that mean that the little bet we've had, I only owe you half the what I've lost?
No, it does not, Sylvain. Right? No,
I think that makes sense. What do you think, Gav?
I'll tell you what then.
I think that does make sense.
No, I think that's fair then. Let's have half amount. But the fact that you've not paid the bet and the interest that's acquired over the 2 weeks since I'm going to see you, you're going to owe me more anyway. So should have paid.
That's fine.
Got to pay your
That's
bets.
fair enough. Yeah, I know. That's shocking, actually. That I didn't. Yeah, terrible. Yeah. Anyway,
going to be so awkward when we get to Brazil. In Brazil will be Dennis Foggia. He's going to replace Luca Lunetta. I wrongly got the crashes mixed up. Of course, Sergio Garcia was involved in an incident with Lunetta. Lunetta broke a bone in his right foot, had to have surgery, actually. So Foggia is going to stand in for a couple of rounds to replace Luca Lunetta in the Speed RS team. It just feels, though, just on that point front, Sylvain, just a bit messy, isn't it? To start the season.
But it was messy. I mean, that race was super messy. Yeah, it is a bit messy that they didn't get it right straight away, and they realized that in the aftermath. But yeah, it was carnage. We were so lucky. I mean, yeah, it is messy. But at the end of the day, I'm so happy that there was no like big injuries because of that. I mean, the crash with Alonso, how horrendous was that? When we saw the images, I thought, whoa.
I don't know if it's my hangover, but I'm not that bothered. It's a 22-round championship. It's not upsetting me at all.
It doesn't matter.
But that's the
most
hangover
important thing is that nobody
you
was
know me so well. Neil's grumpy. I'm not that bothered. Off points.
He's had enough. Okay. He's had enough already. He's had one race.
Nobody cares.
One race.
Nobody cares.
Right. We can move on then to VR46. Now, Story's doing the rounds. Ucho's done an interview. Alessio Salucci done an interview where he said it looks like they'll be staying with Ducati for another 3 years. Reveals they've been talked with Aprilia. We had a question, though, from Ross Purdy. What is happening at VR46? That's one part of it. But also, there don't seem to be too many new young riders coming through the academy, which is an interesting point because Valentino did take over the reins of the Italian Federation. The Italian Federation stopped their Team Italia shenanigans because everyone was going through the Rossi system. But, that does seem to be halted at the moment. And that's, I suppose there are a couple of Italians like the likes of Luca Lunetta, coming through. But they've got to be careful, haven't they? The Italian system, that they don't have anyone coming through.
Well, they'll end up like us, the Brits and the French, where there's very little riders coming through. But it's true though, there's not many, but they're very busy. There's a lot of them, and they're all under VR46 management, and most of them are in MotoGP, so they're actually doing well and taking more riders on. Could that sort of make the whole thing worse? At the moment, what they're doing is working, and I'm sure they're doing stuff in the background. They must be looking at the young talents. And, once they've found one that, if they found very, very special ones that they think are going to make it all the way, which are rare, by the way, I'm sure they'll help those guys.
But a couple of bets didn't pay off, did they? Alberto Sura, Elia Bartolini, there was Andrea Migno, Niccolo Antonelli as well. The next sequence actually didn't kick off, didn't it? It didn't kick on, sorry, should I say, in the way it was supposed to.
Yeah, well, Buliga was one, if you remember, as well.
Yeah.
He was going to be the golden child, and it'd be so nice if Buliga goes full circle and obviously got kicked out of the Grand Prix paddock because he wasn't quite good enough into the Superbike paddock, and if he can bounce back into MotoGP, it'd be quite a nice story. But they are coming to the end, so what Valentino did worked, but they have clearly stopped doing that system, which was nurturing young Italian talent. It stopped. It stopped years ago, didn't it? I remember when they announced they weren't running the Moto3 team, and then the interest of getting the young riders seemed to have stopped. There were no new signings into the academy. But obviously at the time, Valentino was still racing. I think he wanted to ride with the young talent. That helped him. And I don't mean that. Valentino wanted to give back 100%, but it also helped him in turn. Now he's not racing. He's not really got the need or want for that. Yes, I know he still goes to the ranch, his ranch, and rides with everybody, and he's still super fast. But if you know what I mean, I think maybe the necessity for that is not as important to him, which is fair enough, and you can't blame him. And I'm not aware of this. Maybe he's doing the same with karting and young talent and drivers and pushing it in that direction. Maybe there's a bit of that going on. Who knows? But it will come to an end. But if you look at the whole world, everyone's struggling to get riders into MotoGP. It's only Spanish and Italians at the moment. But like I said, the Italians, that crop, are going to come to an end. So it's tough times. I think as it looks, we've got a lot more riders coming from Asia that are starting to look good. Japanese and Indonesian, Malaysian riders. Obviously, with the Asia Talent Cup, that's working, and we're now just about starting to see the benefits of that. But like we say, it's not just us. I want to reiterate that it's not just the Brits, it's not just the Americans. There's not many
French.
Dutch riders. French, Germans. You can name every country. Austrians, whatever. It's tough times unless you want to up roots with your 11-year-old son or daughter, move to Spain, base yourself there. If you're not prepared to do that, I'm not saying it's impossible, because that's not the case, but it's become very difficult to end up being a Grand Prix rider or a MotoGP rider.
Absolutely. Right, we're just going to move on. A couple more. We do have a lot more questions. We might have to save some, for another episode, chaps.
Because we can do that.
There's a few more things to get through.
We can do that on the preview. Do a quick preview when we do the preview show.
Yeah, we have got one that refers directly to that in Brazil. Let's have a look what the other thing that's relevant then to this week. We'll save that one. We'll save that because we've got to 50 minutes and we don't need that much more, do we? There's been some nice things of your stories. I know what. Hassan's been voted. I'm not going to. That's not that interesting, is it? Story.
No, but that's my most underrated, the most overrated tracks, Hassan.
All right. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about tracks.
So you can say it, and I'll start laughing, and you'll go, "What are you laughing at?" And I'll go, "Look, is everyone sitting down? This is really unpopular, and I'm gonna get some hate from the Dutch."
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Just to move on now, there was just another thing that I've seen this week. We have got loads more questions, but we might have to save them, chaps, for another episode, I think, perhaps here, because we're not going to have enough time to get through. You guys have just got too much to offer. But there was something I saw this week from the Tech3 Racing account on Instagram, and it was Maverick Vinales and Enea Bastianini going through their favourite tracks. Maverick goes with Austin, Qatar, Jerez, Phillip Island, Assen. Austin! His number one, Maverick Vinales.
Wow.
For Enea Bastianini, Misano, I mean, he's from there, so that's fair enough. Assen, Bruno, Phillip Island, Mugello. I don't think you can argue with those other four as well. That's Red Bull KTM Tech 3's Instagram page there. So that's, some of their favourite tracks. Austin being one, that's the big headline for me, Neil, because you're going to, in a couple of weeks' time, I don't know whether you or Sylvain's going to do a lap of the track.
I'm doing a lap in Austin.
Okay. Oh, wait a second.
Yeah. Actually, I've never ridden Austin, but it does not look good. It looks, it looks like.
Wait a sec. The venue's incredible, isn't it? The circuit. I mean, the installation, the facility is incredible, no doubt about it. But you're talking about the layout.
I'm on about the layout. Yeah, I think the Maverick Vinales saying Austin first. It's typical rider, and we've all done it. I've done it myself. You like a track as a rider. You like a track where you've had some good results before, because it makes you feel happy. You've had some good result. You go back there and you're like, oh yeah, I remember I won there. I remember. And also, you like tracks where you're naturally fast. There's tracks where you turn up and no matter what you're gonna do, you're not going to perform, or you're going to always feel like you struggle. And there's other tracks where you just turn up and it feels like you don't even have to push, and you are producing the lap time.
So
and,
true.
And it's true, isn't it? And for
so
Maverick,
true.
obviously Austin is one of those. I mean, when he turned up and destroyed everybody with the Aprilia there, out of nowhere. I mean, in the GP, he came back. Was he
That was
P12 at
Batmav,
some
wasn't
point?
it?
Batman.
Yeah,
Batmav.
that was the Batmav. The Batmav was
Yeah.
out, and he just. I mean, he was like on a different tire. It was just unreal. So obviously that's why he liked it, and that's why he immediately thought of that track. Naturally, it's funny, the instincts, but yeah, it is true, Neil, isn't it? You like the track where you go well at.
Yeah, that's why I don't like many tracks, Sylvain.
Go on. What are your favourites, though? What are your favourites, and what are the most overrated tracks, then? Come on.
Hang on, what I want to say is, it's funny, right? Because Austin is my favourite round. I love the Grand Prix there. I love
it's mega.
staying in Austin. Everything about Austin, I love, and it's bizarre that the track. I hate the track. I've not raced there, but I've done quite a few laps now. When I do my media laps, and it's just there's no flow to it. But what we saying, most overrated track?
Well, your favourites and most overrated, then.
Well, favourites, it's just all the boring ones, as in that you've heard a million times. Your Phillip Islands,
Bruno.
I love the Bruno Mugello, exactly. I like a bit of elevation change. I'll tell you what, I absolutely loved Laguna Seca. Like, what a track! But most overrated track. I loved it too. Now, this is funny, right? So you're sitting down, and I'm going to get some hate. Shock.
Go on.
Assen is so overrated. It's rubbish now. And I know I'm old, and I know I raced the old track, and the old track was 9 out of 10. The new track is a solid 5. That first car park section, flat, boring. You're waiting. It only gets exciting by the time you get to the end of that middle straight. So you've got
turn
1,
8.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
It's turn 8.
You have about 7, 8 corners that link together. It's less than half of the lap. It's amazing. And that's why it's 5 out of 10. The problem is the first half is rubbish. So it's destroyed. Its soul, its heart is gone. Assen is not a great racetrack. Clip that up, Gav, because I'm getting some hate.
Well, I don't know how many. I might get this. I have to get this podcast translated into Dutch. It's just, I can't wait till the last weekend in June.
Gav, do you remember the argument? Now, every now and again on social media, you'll get someone who's offended by something you've said, and do you know what? 9 times out of 10, it's funny. We quite enjoy it. Actually, it's a bit of banter, and rarely you go back. Someone throw some insults. You look at them, we show them around, we all laugh. And there's been some good ones over the years that we can't repeat, but there's been some classics. Gav, what about that time some gentleman was so offended that I called the last chicane the GT chicane instead of its proper name, which is... Go on, pronounce it. Yeah. Weirdly, I didn't bother...
chicane.
I didn't bother calling it that. I just called it the GT chicane, which I've got to say, 95% of people do. This gentleman was so angry, and I kept prodding him, didn't I? We went backward and forward. It was on X. He was so angry. He was cancelling his subscription to, at the time, I think it was BT Sports. He was just, he just so overreacted. And the angrier that he got, the more I kept prodding him. Oh, sorry. I made myself laugh. It was funny.
It was, actually. It was one of these minor things. Go on, Sylvain. What about you while we're at it?
Hang on. Sorry. Just to finish it. What's so funny in this situation? So this guy started to annoy me, I'm going to be honest. And I'd write a response, and me and Gavin would be driving, and I'd read out the response, and Gavin would go, whoa, don't send that. Do not send that. And I'm like, why not? And he's going, just don't send that. You'll look a knob. So I'm like, okay, what should I put? So a few of the responses...
it takes something for you to look a knob.
yeah. A few of the responses, they were, thankfully, my co-commentator wrote them for me. So, yeah, brilliant. Sorry.
Yeah, it was funny, I have to say. Sylvain, favourite, most overrated for you?
Oh, favourite. So, same. I mean, Phillip Island. That's a favourite. I tell you what, which one is one of my favourite is Spa. Spa is a very, very good track. It's probably my top track. Spa is it's like it's a I tell you the first time I went to Spa, I went around there. It was with the World Endurance, so they're like similar to like World Superbike spec bikes, so they're fast. And I remember doing like 5 or 6 laps. I came in and I was like, we shouldn't be racing here. It's like I was lost. Like it was just too much to take on, and I was like, no, this is too scary, too complicated, too dangerous, too much of everything. And I was generally pissed off to be there. And then the second run, I was like, oh wow, actually this is hard, but it's nice. And then the thing just grew on me. And after a few sessions, the track, like when you get it right, it's so rewarding, so good. Like the adrenaline was so good. And now it's ended up being one of my favorites. So it's it was one that grew on me, that one. But Suzuka as well. Suzuka is a great track. I mean, I'm still glad that we go there with World Endurance. We actually there's not many rounds in World Endurance, but we go to Suzuka, which is brilliant. We go to Spa, which is brilliant. We go to Paul Ricard, which is also a great track. And Le Mans is probably the worst one as a layout, but still a good track. So yeah, we only get 4 races, but it's good fun. I'm not 100% sure about the Arsène Neal sort of thing, but I do agree that, I mean, on the first part of the track is a 3 out of 10, isn't it? Really, the sort of snail turn 3, and it's a horrible bit. And yeah, the original track though was something special. We sound old, don't we?
We sound old.
We just
go
on. How the past used to be better.
So but is there a track now that you think is overrated, Sylvain, or not really?
Overrated?
Yeah.
I've nothing come to mind. No. Overrated.
Right, okay.
Yeah. No, I'm not sure. No. Yeah. No.
You what? Hang on. You said the Isle of Man TT course. Why do you hate road racing so much, Sylvain? Oh my God.
Oh, no,
I mean, it's an incredible event. The history, the circuit. I mean,
have you done a lap around there?
I've done a few. I'll tell you what. Do you know what it's so funny about when you mentioned? Yeah, when you mentioned then when you rode around Spa and you thought we shouldn't be doing this. I remember, obviously, I've lived on the Isle of Man for a long time, so I know the course. But the first time I did a parade lap, I was obviously it looks completely different, and I came in, I was shaking. I loved it. But I was also like, they shouldn't be doing that. That shouldn't be allowed.
Not right.
This sort of how you would expect a circuit racer to react. That's how you'd expect them to. And yeah, it's just incredible.
Who did you go around with on your parade?
Well, I've done quite a few over the years. I've done about 4 different laps. I've done it with like Kevin Schwantz. The highlight for me was during a parade lap, Hutchie came past me. And I flicked a stone up and it hit my screen. And I shit my pants because you're going fast anyway. And then Hutchie comes past close and he's like looking and loving it. And then he went like out into the edge of the curb and then and it hit my screen. And I'm like, oh my God, this is unreal. What a great feeling though. And Philip McCallum, one time I was riding with him. So I've been super lucky to be able to go on closed road around here.
Yeah. I remember Valentino talking about it when he did his parade lap with Ago, and he couldn't believe how fast Ago was going around. He was talking about how fast the parade was. He was like, that's absolutely ridiculous as far as he was concerned. Look, we've got loads of other questions. We're going to have to move on to another time. We'll get to them. Nicola Golding, thanks for your question. We will definitely get onto that. It's something we've discussed with Davide Brivio. Jensen Watts, one from you about younger viewership of MotoGP. I'm not sure we're the right people to ask, but we'll try and get across it as well. Jack Hammer came up with a good question about the Brazilian Grand Prix. That's where we will be heading next. I'm pleased to say that all the freight has made it over there. It's all landed in Brazil. If you're watching the video version on YouTube, you'll see that it's all landed and it's all been put in. Actually, some of the pit buildings are starting to look a little bit better than they were. I've seen a few fly-arounds in recent days from the drones we've had. There was a test event. Still, I haven't had an official confirmation of the homologation, which you normally get from the FAM, but we're all told it's all okay and we're going to be fine. that's where we'll be heading next. That will be our next episode 2. We are going to do a preview episode of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Both Neil and Sylvain raced in Brazil, not on this track, but they did race in Brazil. Neil did twice, actually. I mean, as in, when I say twice, in the 500 days, didn't you?
Yeah.
Before MotoGP days. We'll discuss that in our next episode of Gas It Out. Have you boys got anything that you'd like to add? Anything that we've not got through in this chatty episode?
No, I think that's all good.
No.
Can't believe
No,
Sylvain
happy enough,
ACTT.
I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant that we get all these questions there. I like to see what people think, and also like the when they disagree with us, because when you make a real point or an argument about something, because sometimes we think we're right, don't we? And then sometimes we do change our mind. But it's really nice to have like different sort of perspective on what's going on, and it's nice to see that there's lots of people that actually, that follow the sport and that are really like knowledgeable about it. So I like that. So please keep sending your questions and stuff, because I really find that fascinating.
I couldn't say it any better than you, Sylvain. At Gas It Out Pod on Instagram and YouTube. We are working on an email address and a website is happening. Just a bit slow when we've got all this travel on at this time of year. Someone who did get in touch with us was at Difficult Damsels. Sarah Tomlinson got in touch with us on Instagram. We don't make a habit of this sort of thing, but her dad, Toby, has a big birthday at the end of this month. Might be one that starts with a 7 and ends in a 0. So unless he's 710, it's going to be a huge celebration of 3 school years and 10. But you wouldn't know it to look at him. He's a lifelong biker. He's responsible for her MotoGP obsession, brought her up on a diet of MotoGP superbikes. And as far back as I can remember, he's retired over in Normandy in France. This is where I thought it got interesting. And his only regret is not being able to have you guys do the commentary each weekend, which is such a shame for you.
Oh.
There are ways and means. VPN. So getting to listen to us through the podcast is bridging that gap. If you could maybe give him a quick shout out for his birthday on the 30th of March. So that's Toby. Sarah's got in touch. She would be grateful. And in France, he lives in Normandy, Sylvain. So maybe you could offer him a birthday wish in French. And we could also appeal to that audience.
Voilà. Bon anniversaire à tout le monde. And yeah, I mean, he's got to deal with all the French there. That's the worst bit about living in France, isn't it? It's lovely France.
Only you can say that.
French, isn't it? It's a bit full of French, but anyway, good luck with that.
Happy birthday, Toby, from all of us.
Yeah.
And thanks
Happy
for
birthday,
Sarah. Yeah. As I say, she used Instagram at Gas It Out Pod. You can do that on the YouTube comments, Spotify comments. If you enjoy the podcast, please leave us a review wherever you listen. Huge thank you to everyone who sent in comments and questions this week. Please keep them coming. And if you are listening in Sri Lanka, get ready for the Colombo special soon. Between now and then, from myself, Neil and Sylvain, if in doubt, gas it out.